welcome back to the class, everyone. Today we are going to be starting on or continuing our Galactic Legend prep video series, but the reason I said starting on is because we're going to be transitioning to ships. So we're not going to be doing Galactic Legends anymore purely because we ran out of them. Reminding you what the point of this video in the series is. Whenever you go after a really big farm like Executor, which, you know, that is what we're doing today if you couldn't tell from the list in front of us, or a really big Galactic Legend like Jabba, typically you have to farm like 15 or 10 or some ridiculous amount of characters. And when you get to the end of it, not all of those characters end up having a home, and there's even a better way to farm them in the sense that some characters are just inherently much more useful than others, and you should be farming them first before kind of going against or going for the ones that you have to go to, like Director Krennic, who isn't going to get used anywhere, so why are you farming him first? Anyways, so yeah, today we're going to be talking about Executor, all of his requirements, and then some kind of hidden requirements, so to speak, that you can also get that will really enhance the teams that you're getting and just give you an overall bang for your buck. So the reason why these are labeled what they are is like S tier and A tier. Just this is the order you should go in. Not to say that, you know, Bam is just an A tier character across the board when compared to all characters, but in this list he is, and we'll get to the reason why. So Piet, gosh darn it, I just love this character. So stinking good. Early and mid game amazing, still pretty decent in the end game. He is useful in so many teams, and it all revolves around Emperor's Trap. Every single time an Empire team takes a turn in sequence, everyone gains 6% offense and potency per stack, which an Imperial Trooper team, and a Vader team, and a Lord Vader team, and an Emperor Palpatine team, all those Empire teams, you just get so much damage so quickly and just start to shatter through everything. Dark Troopers quite often used alongside Imperial Troopers with Piet, and a lot of people think that Dark hits really hard, and he does. But one of the reasons why he does is because you have 30 stacks of Emperor's Traps. That is so much offense that is coming off of his modifier that just makes him that much more powerful. So Admiral Piet is a must-have character. I don't care who you are, you probably have a team that he can fit into, starting all the way at the beginning of the game with Emperor Palpatine and then just, you know, Darth Vader as well. So Darth Vader is up next, and he has a somewhat similar vibe to Piet in the sense that he can be used in like 4 or 5 different teams. The only difference is he's typically not as crucial of a linchpin, but he is still usable, so it's worth getting him up there. He is also an attacker that deals a decent amount of damage, so the relics on him all the way up to where he needs to be, you actually get something out of it. You're not just taking, I think, Watt to R7 for JMK. If you do that, great. Like, Watt's a great character, but he doesn't need R7. Like, R5 is fine, or R3 is probably fine for most people. Vader can actually use the R7, whether he's a damage dealer with Palpatine, whether he's trying to get a nice call on someone under a Lord Vader comp, or he's just trying to do something fun with Afra. It is something that he could take advantage of, and again, he's usable in kind of all of those teams. Next up is going to be Bossk. There does not exist, to my knowledge, a good bounty hunter team out there that does not have Bossk. He is required to be able to go after the Executor. You need him, but he's going to be the cornerstone of any bounty hunter team. He is the only or that's not true. He's not the only massive. They have Grief, which we'll be getting to here in a second, but he's the only tank. He has Frenzy. He's able to flip around turns, call to assist, be able to grant turn meter through Mando. Just does amazing things. JC, TW, even in some PvE modes, he's also just very good in general. He has one of the rare abilities out there that can give Frenzy. That has been nice sometimes for Conquest. But to go along with them, we're going to be talking about 2 characters that are not requirements for Executor, but I believe really need to be farmed alongside Executor to, again, get the best bang for your buck, and that is going to be Grief and Mando. Very similar to Bossk, there really doesn't exist a good bounty hunter team without Grief and Mando. We're not going to be talking about Fennec. Fennec is very good. She's probably the top tier bounty hunter team, but at the same time, there are a multitude of teams that can be killed without her. And with Grief and Mando also not being subjugated like Shazam is to just GAC, they hold the most value. Grief is the only AoE cleanse that we have. Mando is the turn meter facilitator. He also does an Annihilate, which is pretty cool, whether it be 3v3 or 5v5. And you can use this team immediately in 3s. That's kind of where they're S tier. That's why you should be going them right out the gate. And then you can start to fill in the 4th and 5th as they come later. So just super important to have. They don't need to be R5. I really like it for Datacrons, but if you're like, I don't use Datacrons, not relevant to me, Gear 13 is probably fine. He has an Annihilate, so his damage is not that big of a deal, and he's a support, so whatever. Get him to Gear 13, R0, whatever you want to call it. that is going to be what I'm going to say is the S tier. That'll get you set up to have, again, the best bang for your buck for this one. Bam is going to be in the A tier, and there's two things that I want to talk about with Bam. A, he's really good on a multitude of teams. B, you probably have something that he can already work with. As we mentioned with Vader, he's just viable across a lot of different teams. So we're not actually going to be talking about any extra characters like Greef or Mando, because he can just be plugged into a Maul team. He can be plugged into a Dash team. He can be plugged into a Bounty Hunter team. Really, any scoundrel team that exists out there, he's actually somewhat decent on, except for probably Jabba, although Jabba's not a scoundrel, so I guess we can get away with saying that. Looking at our friend Bam, why is he so wonderful? He has this damage immunity that is aged very well whenever a scoundrel ally falls below, I believe, what is it, 50% health? It's probably his unique that actually procs that. Yeah, 75% health. He is going to proc a turn. He's going to have the cooldown on his damage immunity reduced to 0, so you can use it immediately and just start propping up damage immunity around on everyone. Again, it's just good to have with Dash. It's good to have with Bounty Hunters if you're trying to kill something high level like Lord Vader. So overall, just a good bang for your buck. He is not required for Executor, so you don't have to get him to a super secret relic level. And if you're using him specifically for the damage immunity purpose, kind of in a plug and play way, R3 is probably fine. R5 is a little bit more desirable. And if you're using him under his own lead, like I had for a very long time, where he's actually the damage dealer through his Whistling Birds, R7 is probably more justifiable. But you do need him in some fashion. The reason why he's on here to begin with, and I didn't mention this, is because the Razor Crest is required for the Executor event, and you want to have a good Razor Crest anyways. You don't want to leave Bam at like gear 11. I mean, it'll probably work sometimes, but you're just opening a huge gate to RNG by having him lower and being just really squishy. Next up is going to be the B tier. The B tier is pretty much represented by characters that are good to have at relics, but you can kind of do it with out for a long time. It's probably worth mentioning that Boba's needed for Jabba, so if you already have that, you're probably already done with this for the most part. I guess you just need the R8. Dengar is pretty good on a Bounty Hunter team. I like him to go with the Bossk Greef Mando thing, because if you just get going, you start getting turn meter, and then he just pushes everyone back. That's also really cool. He doesn't do terribly on a Bam team. Whenever he throws out his thermals, not only does he get turn meter from doing damage on that instance, but when those thermals explode, they also give more turn meter to the Bam lead, because if you look at Bam's lead, it's for every time an enemy takes damage. So that's thermals, that is dots, that is whatever. It just has to do damage, and then you'll end up getting 2% turn meter. So he pairs well on that team as well. A little bit more plug and play, not quite as good as like we talked about Vader or Bam, but still overall pretty useful. And then Boba just does some nice damage. He has an ability block. Again, these aren't linchpin characters, but they're really nice add-ons to teams that you should already have developed by doing the rest of Executor, just building your roster through a natural process. C tier is going to be IG-88. Similar concept, except a little worse of a character. He's very squishy, not quite as versatile as Dengar or Boba, really is survivable. Dengar can go into stealth, and Boba, he has his Bounty Hunter's Resolve that lets him revive. So, I mean, that's kind of where he falls. I guess it is worth stating if you have Afro before Executor, which can happen, a little bit odd. But if you do that, then you want to push IG-88 up the list, probably even to A tier. But I don't have Afro, so he's kind of where he sits for me. And then last and very much least is TIE Fighter Pilot. TIE Fighter Pilot, just not very good. Like, you can throw him in an Emperor Palpatine team, and he'll generate turn meter, just like Tarkin would, just like any other Empire character that has debuffs would, or Sith for that matter, just not overall very useful. He's sometimes okay-ish in a cleanup where getting tenacity down on one character, like say Malik, can be kind of nice. Kind of a double-edged sword though, because he has to actually be able to crit to do it, and then he fears himself. Yeah, I don't know. He's not good, at least in comparison to the rest of these characters like Boba or Bam or Piet or Vader. Definitely falls down to lowest on the list, and he's going to be the one that you're going to want to do last. So that is going to be it for today. Let me know what you guys thought about the structure, and let me know, I do plan on doing this with Profundity, but do we want to see this kind of thing for Gas? Do we want to see this kind of thing for Jedi Knight Luke? Let me know in the comments below, and until the next time, stay awesome.